Shalom Aleichem Rabotai. It is the 40th day of the Omer. We are continuing Mishnah Yomi in the 6th parak of Sheviit, which we began yesterday, discussing the three different lands, Legabe Kedushat Shemitah, the sanctity of the 7th year, what was conquered by Yehoshua, then what was settled by the Ole Bavel with Ezra, and then the lands that are outside of that. Now Mishnah Bet in the 6th parak continues a similar concept about Syria. Osin betalush besuria. You can work with detached produce in Syria. Syria is Syria, and it has a quasi Eretz Yisrael status. It would fall under the category of what was conquered by Yehoshua. It was actually not conquered by Yehoshua. It was conquered by David the Melech, and it was conquered by David the Melech for the purpose of gaining more resources. But it was conquered prior to the entire kibush of Eretz Yisrael. So it's in some ways rabbinically Eretz Yisrael, but not entirely Eretz Yisrael. It has one of these quasi-status. We mentioned this in Demai. So the Mishnah here rules, in Syria, you can work with talush, with items that are detached from the ground. You can process them into food in the normal manner, even on a commercial scale. Aval lo b'mchubar, but not with attached produce. So the Mishnah explains, Doshin, Zorin, Dorchin, Me'amrin. So you can dosh is thresh, Zora, winnow, Dorech is to crush, like the grapes and the olives, into the liquid, Me'amrin, and gather up and bind into sheaths, like normal. Avolo kotzrin, lo botzrin, v'lo moskin. But you can't, kotzer is to harvest grains, Botzer to harvest grapes, and Masika is to harvest olives. Again, it's interesting, all of the Shivas Minim, the 7 species of Eretz Yisrael, have their own verb for harvesting, except for those poor pomegranates are left out. I've been unable to find a word specific to pomegranates only. So here in Syria, we let you process raw food items into bread, into whatever you need, on a commercial scale even, but not to do the harvesting on a commercial scale. It has a rabbinical sense of Shemitah, because we don't want people to move out of Eretz Yisrael during the Shemitah year and move to Syria so they can profit off of the lack of restrictions there. Klal Amar Rabbi Akiva. So Rabbi Akiva explained what's going on in Syria. Kol shekiyotze bo mutar b'Eretz Yisrael. Whatever there is really mutar in Eretz Yisrael, osin oto b'Syria, you can do in Syria. Now that sounds redundant. The Bartenura explains things that are mutar in Eretz Yisrael. I mean mutar deraisa, even if they're rabbinically forbidden and would have to have a shinui. So we've seen certain activities, you make a shinui, you do it with a different tool, you do it in a different way, where it's not the normal commercial manner of agriculture, and that would be perhaps permitted rabbinically. These items that are mutar deraisa, you could do them lechatchila in the normal way in Syria. Mishnah Gimel, B'tzolim sheyardu alehem geshamim v'tzimchu. If onions were put into the ground and then rain fell on them and they sprouted, so the onion bulbs are sprouting new leaves out of the top. Im hayu olin shalem shechurin. If the leaves are darker, asurin. This means that they have gained nutrients out of the rain and out of the soil, and that's why the leaves are darker. And these onions have been put into the ground in violation of Shemitah, as planted, or maybe they were put into storage but not carefully enough, and now they're drawing nutrients from the ground during Shemitah. They're usher as peros shvis, even though the onion started off in the 6th year, then it was replanted in the 7th year, but now that it's starting to grow dark leaves, it is considered peros shvis. Horiku, if they were greeny, hare elu mitarin. So these light green leaves, not the dark green leaves, these are mutar because we don't assume that the nutrients making these leaves are coming out of the ground, but out of the bulb itself. And we've seen kachava in the kitchen. If you leave an onion long enough, it's not even in the ground, but it will sprout nice light green leaves. Rabbi Chanina ben Tignas omer im yecholin lehitolish be'alin shelahen asurin. He says if they put the onion in the ground in the 7th year, and now it's growing new leaves, so if you could pull out the whole onion by these leaves, meaning they're strong, no matter the color, but the strength of the leaves, then they're considered peros shvis. Keneged bo motzei shvius mutarin, and likewise in the 8th year it would be mutar. So this 8th year onion, what's going on is you had a small onion in the 6th year, and somebody put it into the ground on the 7th year, and it it gained some mass on the 7th year, but then they pulled it out of the ground, they planted it again in the 8th year, and now it's growing nice, strong leaves. So these nice, strong leaves show us that it's grown a lot in the 8th year, and it's no longer Paris Shvius, even though it had some improvement during Shvius, but the mass, the gains in the 6th year and the 8th year combine to be mevatel whatever it gained in the 7th year. Shkoyach.